It's past 9.
The Radio Wemo Breakfast.
Joining us now, Jules Clancy from thestonesoup.com. It's the minimalist cooking feature here on Kiwi. Good morning to you, Jules.
Morning, Glenn.
Yeah, and today we're talking about 9 things you probably didn't know about mushrooms. Plus, we've got a recipe at the end as well, a roast mushroom salad. So
Two recipes.
2 recipes. Oh, great. Okay, what got you thinking about mushrooms at the moment?
I've actually, I'm always thinking about mushrooms, Glenn. I love them. But I was actually doing some stuff for the Mushroom Growers Association in Australia. So I've kind of had mushrooms on the mind, so I thought I'd write a blog post about them.
Yeah. Well, I personally, I've been thinking about growing mushrooms. There's a bit of space under the house. I think you only need sort of a cooler, kind of dark place. And, I don't know how easy they are to grow, though.
Yeah, well, I grew them once, quite a few years ago, and I just got a kit kind of thing. And it was super easy. You've just got to find a little space for them and just kind of get the right amount of moisture, and they just kind of, it all happens on its own. It's really fun, actually.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, they seem quite different to growing normal plants.
Yeah.
Just because they're grown in the dark.
Oh yeah, well exactly. Did you grow the little button ones or some of the
they were
bigger
just normal button ones, but it'd be good to see if you could get some like kind of more exotic mushrooms these days.
Yeah, and is it more cost effective to grow your own? Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I can't remember how much the kit got, but we were giving away mushrooms. Like we had them coming out of our ears, kind of thing. So
yeah.
It was really fun.
All right, well, let's get into the list of 9 things that you didn't know about mushrooms. And this first one is surprising to me.
Yeah, okay, and this tends to be a bit controversial. So, but yeah, the research I've been doing says that, mushrooms don't need washing. It's like if they look clean, then they probably are. But I've actually had some interesting discussion in the comments on this blog post, and there's a guy, Alton Brown, who does Good Eats in the US, and he actually, because some people have a theory that if you wash mushrooms, they soak up the moisture and they go soggy.
Yeah.
He actually tested mushrooms and did a scientific experiment and found out that they didn't actually, if you're just washing them, they don't actually take up any moisture. It's not significant.
Yeah,
but if you do soak them, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
So I guess it's really up to your personal choice. But I usually don't bother if they look clean. There's a little bit of dirt, I just give it a wipe with some paper towel or a brush and then go with it.
I always figure any kind of little dirt on food and stuff, if you're going to cook it, it's just going to, disappear anyway, it's all good.
Yeah, I'm a bit like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2.
Okay, this was really interesting. I didn't know this until I started doing some research, but mushrooms have been linked to helping our immune systems, and not only just kind of boosting your immune system if you're feeling a bit low, but also if you've got an overstimulated immune system. So, for people that have autoimmune diseases, mushrooms can help regulate and kind of bring their immune system back into check, which I think it's just kind of, it's pretty out there. I'm not sure how well regarded this information is, but I'm kind of thinking it'd be much more fun to be eating mushroom risotto than getting a flu shot next winter.
Exactly, for sure. There's next one, also another surprising one for me, particularly for something that is grown in the dark.
Oh yeah, so this is a bit confusing. So like people, mushrooms can produce vitamin D, but they only produce vitamin D when they're exposed to sunlight. So if they're grown in the dark, they're not going to have a lot of vitamin D in them. But if you do bring them out into the light, then they can make vitamin D just like we do.
Oh, okay. And I suppose, I mean, the mushrooms that you harvest, wild mushrooms, I suppose, would be a good source.
Yeah. So depending on the kind of the conditions in the forest, they're more likely to have vitamin D, whereas button mushrooms that have been grown in the dark, not so much.
I like the thought of harvesting wild mushrooms, Jules, but I just don't know whether I'd select the right ones, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's all about knowing what you're doing, and I've always had a dream of having my mushroom patch or my forest that I go and forage mushrooms in. But yeah, I haven't got there either yet.
That and the truffle patch
outside of Sydney in the Blue Mountains. There's people that do little tours. So in the autumn, you can go with someone who knows their stuff and you can go foraging.
Yeah. And stay away from the magic variety or the poisonous variety.
Yeah, or maybe a magic one might be fun, but yeah, definitely stay away from the poisonous ones.
All right, mushrooms are neither plants or animals. Yeah, what do they? Well, I guess this is the fungus, aren't they?
Yeah, they're fungi, so they're in their own kind of classification. So it's a bit of a nerdy one, that one.
Yeah. All right, number 5 then.
So mushrooms are the only non-animal source of vitamin B12, and it's interesting because I kind of, there was a campaign in Australia years ago about mushrooms being meat for vegetarians, and that was why they were saying that. But it's actually further research has shown that it's only mushrooms that are grown in animal manure that have the B12, and they're actually getting the vitamin B12 from the manure. So mushrooms grown in the forest, if they're not near manure, won't actually have B12, which is pretty interesting, I thought.
Yeah. And interesting you say, like, meat for vegetarians. It can sometimes feel that way, when you have, like, a lasagna or something.
I've been, I was vegetarian for a month earlier in the year, and like my saviour was like roast mushrooms in a sandwich instead of bacon. It was like bacon sandwich, mushroom sandwiches with the goods.
Yeah. I like the way you casually say, I was a vegetarian for a month, but anyway, moving on.
yeah, that's right.
that didn't work out.
That's a whole other story.
Yeah, it is. Number 6 on the list.
So mushrooms are rich in umami or savoury flavours. So that's kind of the fifth sense of taste, and that's kind of, the Japanese are really big on kind of savoury flavours. And that's another reason why mushrooms are kind of known as meat for vegetarians, because they've got a lot of these glutamates and stuff, and they just taste yummy, and there's a reason for it.
Yeah. Oh, good. All right. 7 then.
Mushrooms are the second most valuable vegetable crop in Australia. It's probably similar in New Zealand, I would imagine. Number 1 spot being the humble potato.
Yeah. Is that the weight ratio, weight to price?
Yeah, weight to price. Yeah. And, which I was kind of surprised, because potatoes are seem to be fairly cheap for their weight.
Yeah. Interesting.
I guess it's just a lot. We just eat a lot of them.
Yeah. All right, and finally, number 8.
Yep. So mushrooms have been linked to low rates of cancer, and this is a bit, I've kind of put this with an apparently. So I just found, a couple of references to studies that have been done in Japan on a population that eat maitake mushrooms.
Yeah.
And that they had low rates of cancer, but haven't been able to get a lot of other proof on that. Although I did find another study that said that magic mushrooms help people with cancer because it eases their anxiety.
Yeah, so, probably take your mind off the day.
So take that one with a grain of salt.
Exactly. Well, I guess it just goes with the balanced diet of vegetables and fungus. It's got to help.
Yeah.
And finally, on the list of 9 things you might not know about mushrooms.
Yeah, well, some people could probably know this one, but so just like unblemished, firm and dry, kind of the things you're looking for in a mushroom. So if they look kind of wrinkly and they've got blemishes on them and they feel spongy or soggy, then they're not going to be very good.
Yeah, they've probably been in the fridge just a little bit too long.
Yeah, or they've been somewhere where they've had too much moisture and they go, when they go slimy.
All right, well, another recipe with 5 ingredients, this one with mushrooms, of course.
Yeah, so this is kind of my go-to thing, what I do with kind of larger mushrooms, so portobellos or field mushrooms. It's just roasting them in the oven with some garlic, thyme and butter. You kind of just stick them in a baking tray and cover them, roast them for about 15 minutes at about 200 C, and then uncover them and kind of keep roasting until they go all brown and lovely. And then I take those mushrooms and use them for mushroom sandwiches, or kind of if I've got guests over and I'm serving a steak for the meat eaters, and I'd serve roast mushrooms like this for the vegetarians.
Perfect.
And it just works really well, you kind of anywhere that, with kind of most accompaniments that you'd normally serve with meat.
Yeah.
So it's super versatile.
I could imagine that would also go nicely on a barbecue as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so you could even roast them first and then just finish them off on the barbecue. So they'll only take, a couple of minutes on the barbie.
Yeah.
Because it can be hard to get bigger mushrooms cooked all the way through on the barbie.
Great. And finally, a roast mushroom and bread salad.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite ways to use those mushrooms is you just kind of tear them up into chunks and then also get some kind of really rustic sourdough and tear that up into chunks and then make a dressing with your red wine or sherry vinegar and olive oil and then just toss it all together with some parsley and shaved parmesan and the mushroom like the bread soaks up the roasting juices from the mushrooms and it's really yummy.
Wow, perfect. Well, those recipes are available up at thestonesoup.com along with the 9 things you may not know about mushrooms. Nice one, Jules. Look forward to talking to you next week for the minimalist cooking feature. Thanks so much.
Sounds good, Glenn. See ya.
See ya. Time now here on Kiwi, 25 minutes past 9. I have a